The magical Misadventures expansion is just around the corner, which means we will be getting new card reveals soon. Spoiler season is one of the most exciting times for any Legends of Runeterra player, so I've compiled everything that you need to know before the new champion announcements. If you recall, before the release of the Empires of the Ascended set, the champion voice lines for the whole set were data mined. We had confirmation of every single champion that was going to be released, but we didn't know the order. For the Magical Misadventures expansion, we don't have this luxury. We only have the name and the Beyond the Bandlewood cinematic to craft our theories. But before we get to them, let's go over the first expansion from the set and the regions we have available for the remaining Bandle City expansions. The Beyond the Bandlewood expansion introduced new champions for the regions of Bilgewater, Shadow Isles, Piltover and Son, Noxus, Shurima and Bandle City, updating Teemo, Fist, Lulu and Heimerdinger along the way to include Bandle City alongside their original region. This leaves the regions of Targon, Ionia, Demacia and Freljord awaiting their new champion for this set, alongside two new Bandle City representatives. These champions will be added in two upcoming expansions, Magical Misadventures releasing December 2021, and an Untitled expansion set to be released in February 2022. Each of these expansions will include 2 out of the 4 remaining regions and a Bandle City champion. Before we get into the clues we have for the content of this expansion, we must turn our attention to the name of the expansion itself. Expansion names are a big hint regarding the theme the cards that will be added will revolve around. We've seen this time and time again. A clear example of this was the Rise of the Underworlds expansion, which included Echo, from the Undercity of Son, Rek'Sai, a void creature that lurks under the sands of Shurima, and Pike, who resides in the depth of the sea. By dissecting the Magical Misadventures name, we can tell that it will obviously include magic-related champions. But the interesting part of the title of the expansion is the use of the word misadventures, which means bad luck, or an experience with a bad result. So we will be looking for champions who've had an accident with magic, or whose magic has caused trouble to them or those around them. But before we tackle the champions, let's look at a region that will be featured in this expansion. With the release of the Beyond the Bandlewood cinematic, we learned that Ava is on a mission to gather some items for the Bandle City's Bandlewood Festival, specifically some acorns, plants, and a rock statue. During her adventures, she comes across Caitlyn and asks her for the materials. Since Piltover and Son is not the correct place to gather them, Ava opens the book and starts flipping through the pages, showing us Senna, Sion, and Cherath, some of the champions from the first expansion, before coming across an image of Ionia, which Caitlyn points to. If we are to believe this cinematic, Ionia will be featured in the Magical Misadventures expansion. The second region remains a mystery. Runeterra is filled with magic, so gathering all the champions with their relation to magic is really easy. So to narrow it down, I've gathered some champions that could be added to the game based on the remaining regions and other clues available in-game and in the cinematic. Let's start with Demacia. As we know, Demacia has a negative outlook on magic. After all, it was built using Petricite, as a safe haven from magic after the Rune Wars. Mages here are hunted by the Mage Seekers and imprisoned for being able to use magic. By the title of the expansion and knowing the history of Demacia, Lux would be a perfect fit for the Magical Misadventures theme. But she's already in the game, so let's look at other magic-related champions from the region. We have Galio, Morgana, Kael, Sona, and Sylas. We can remove Kael and Morgana from this list. They have a strong connection to Targon, and their stories are dependent on the other, so introducing one without the other doesn't make sense on paper. Then we have Sona, who doesn't really have misadventures related to magic. According to the Fragile Legacy story written by Dana Lewis Shaw, which I hope I'm pronouncing right, she traveled to Ionia with her adoptive mother after the death of Lord Barrett, and years later, after coming back to Demacia, she's regarded as an important musician in the region. I don't see any misadventures here. This leaves us with Galio and Sylas. Choosing between them is difficult. On one hand, Galio is a colossus built with Petricite, dampening magic abilities of those who surround him, while Silas is a mage who was used by the Mage Seekers to capture other mages, before being imprisoned and later escaping thanks to Lux. Either of these champions seem like good fits for the expansion, with Silas leaning more towards the Misadventures title. Moving on to Freljord, this region is interesting. When thinking about the magic users from the region, Anivia and Lysandra come to mind. However, they're already in the game, so our remaining options for magic is Nuno and Willem. Nuno and Willem have had a lot of adventures since the kid freed Willem from Lysandra's grasp. They're currently in the search of Nuno's mother, and we'll get to see more of this search in the new game coming 2022. This pair would be a great addition to Legends of Runeterra, but the word misadventures doesn't really fit them. They haven't had accidents or bad luck related to magic, that we know of. Our other option is Brand. Although Brand is no longer classified as a Freljord champion, he would be a perfect fit for the theme. Before being known as Brand and roaming Runeterra, he was a Freljordian tribesman called Keegan Road, who seized a world rune for himself, burning away and becoming the vessel of Brand. Now that story is a magical misadventure, and would be a great counterpart to the icy theme that plagues the champions from the Freljord in Legends of Runeterra. Our third region is Targon, a region characterized by its connection with the celestial beings. Targon is one of the most magical places in Runeterra, second only to Ionia. Sadly, according to the universe page for the region, the only champion left to be added to the game is Pantheon, and he doesn't fit the theme at all despite the connections to the Battle Bonds card. So if Magical Misadventures doesn't use the region of Targon, we will probably see him in the February expansion. But we are in Legends of Runeterra, and we're not limited by the region each champion is associated with. We've seen this with Lulu and Teemo being in Ionia and Piltover and Sun respectively, or Nocturne and Kindred, who roam Runeterra, being tied with the Shadow Isles. So, which champions could be added to Targon? A safe bet would be Bard. Bard is a celestial being who travels Runeterra with the Meeps, looking for parts of an artifact to stop the void destroying everything in its path. There is an amazing story in the universe page if you want to learn more about Bard. It is called Testimony of the Balladeer, and it was written by Marcus Terrell Smith. This story will be linked in the description alongside the story of Lord Barrett's death. But let's get back to Bard. This champion is a great fit for the theme. The misadventures could refer to his mission of stopping the void, and how challenging it has proven to be, failing to collect the fragments that are scattered through Runeterra. Bard could also use the manifest mechanic, as we don't have a champion that uses that mechanic directly. Finally, Ionia, the region that was teased in Ava's adventure. Being a region that revolves around magic, it is really difficult to pin down the champion that could appear in the expansion. We also have a lot of different hints that point in all directions. By definition, Syndra would be a shoo-in for the theme. However, there is no evidence to support her being included at this time. By looking at the cinematic, Caitlyn pointed to the area where Vlonko is located, and Syndra has no connection to this place. For those who don't know, Vlonko is the place where Shaya and Rakan met for the first time, and under other circumstances I would immediately jump at this connection and say that they are going to be the next champions. However, in previous expansions we've gotten a single champion per region, and, like Kayle and Morgana, including one without the other doesn't seem like something the developers would do. Vlonko is also known for its flowers, which make ink, specifically the ink that was used for Akali's tattoo. Sadly, Akali doesn't really fit the Magical Misadventures theme. If we broaden our scope, we notice that Vlonko is located in the Shongshan region of Ionia. Both Karma and Ahri are linked to this region. Now, Ahri seems like the perfect fit for the expansion. She checks the Magical Misadventures theme, she also has made a cameo in the Tail Cloak Matriarch card, and her anniversary is coming up in League of Legends. And while we will probably get her, I want to point out a few details that you might have missed. If we look again at the cinematic, there's another shot where Caitlyn is pointing at the southeastern side of Zhongshan, and this could be a simple mistake with continuity. However, this caught my attention, and upon inspecting the universe map, we can see that this area shows the unique flora artwork for the region. And in the cinematic, where the book would show the champion that would get released, we have a forest. The Dream Tree is located in the Zhongshan region, and while Lilia is a far too new champion to be included in this particular expansion, Ivern was the one who nurtured the tree and has a connection to the forest, and probably the plants that Ava is looking for. But what about the theme? Well, Ivern the Cruel had a magical misadventure when he decided to cut the God Willow, being transformed into the Ivern we know today. To recap, for the Magical Misadventures expansion, for the remaining regions we have the options of Silas or Galio for Demacia, Brand or Nunu for the Freljord, Bard for Targon, and Ahri or Ivern for Ionia. But what about Bandle City? The Bandle City representative that everyone thinks will be included is Yuumi. After all, Book was featured in the cinematic, and she fits the Magical Misadventures theme. And while we won't get the other Bandle City champions in this expansion, I must point out that Gnar and Rumble have followers already in the game. Gnar has the Stone Stackers and the Proto-Portal, while Rumble has the Treasure Trash and Arena Kingpin, whose description mentions a mech arena in Noxus. And there you have it. Everything that you need to know before spoiler season starts. Do you disagree with this list of champions? Which regions and champions do you think will be added to the game in the Magical Misadventures expansion? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for everything Runeterra.